At the highest security women's prison in Texas resides one of the state's most notorious murderers, 53-year-old Celeste Beard-Johnson.
I wish that I would have done a lot of things different. Yes, I do, but I finally, maybe within the last year, stopped beating myself up because I can't do anything about what happened.
In 2003, she was found guilty of killing her millionaire husband and sentenced to life in prison.
I just can't believe that I'm going to be stuck here for 40 years for something I didn't do. I mean, I just have to believe that that's not going to happen, because if I do, I might as well just die.
Celeste's story captured the imagination of the world's media and spawned 2 best-selling books. Susie Spencer spent 2 years researching one of them.
I combed through the medical records. I sat through the trial testimony, but I did not get the story of Celeste Beard until I met her. All of a sudden, I got it, because she's charming, she's fun, she's lively, and she tells you just enough truth mixed in with her lies that they become believable. She's fascinating. Celeste came to Texas, and Celeste wanted to be rich. At Austin Country Club, I think that she thought that there probably was a wealthy man that she could hook.
One of the club's most affluent customers was Stephen Beard, a 69-year-old TV tycoon worth over $12 million.
I was attracted to him. I would talk to him, he would talk to me. I remember everybody would be scared to wait on Stephen's table because he was, getting drunk and loud and demanding, and they were all scared of him, but I wasn't.
Within 6 months, Celeste had left her husband and moved in with Stephen Beard.
All of a sudden, Beard's got this girlfriend, and me and some of other Steve's friends, we'd say, Steve, tell me about your new girlfriend. And he'd go, house manager, God damn it, house manager. So, he considered her his house manager.
In February 1995, Stephen and Celeste were married.
All of Steve's friends knew that this woman was a charade. It wasn't real. But who's going to tell Steve that? It all came down to money. I mean, that's what she wanted.
When she moved in, Stephen Beard agreed to give Celeste her own monthly allowance.
$35,000 a month. That was my stipend. But that's a lot of money. And he said I could spend it however I wanted. I would have diamonds. I had over $500,000 in jewelry. Furs, I had 26 fur coats.
She developed an insatiable thirst for more. This woman who didn't have $10 to spend on anything was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on nothing.
He didn't care because he was enjoying his life. And if he got mad at me about spending too much money, it didn't last very long.
Ambulance, location of emergency. Hello?
I need an ambulance, hurry. 3900 Sorrel Canyon Road. My guts just came out of my stomach.
I didn't hear.
They blew out. Yeah, they blew out of my stomach.
Hey, sir,
I'm in awful pain.
how did this happen?
From the beginning, you have to remember that there were a lot of things going on that night. And I recall when the police arrive on the scene, they can't get into the house, and they're banging on the doors, there's sirens going on outside. And when the police finally get inside the house, the crime scene had been set up to look like a robbery.
Inside, police found furniture overturned and drawers opened. Stephen was bleeding heavily from the abdomen. Celeste was by his side.
As the police dealt with her that night, her behavior was very strange. Celeste Beard sometimes seems to be fake crying, just crying when someone was looking at her. Then later on, she seemed to have no emotion whatsoever. After Stephen Beard was taken to the hospital, one of the officers on the scene notices a shotgun shell on the floor.
A ballistics test on the shell led police to another woman, a friend of Celeste's called Tracy Talton.
As crazy as it sounds, Celeste was ultimately able to convince Tracy to murder Beard. She couldn't help herself. She wanted everything.
You know, it's just crazy. I loved him and I would never hurt somebody like that.
After 3 months in hospital, Stephen Beard finally died as a result of his injuries.
I still don't understand how she can be walking around. My biggest regret is ever bringing Tracy into our life.
This is what comes up when you Google me. Celeste.
59-year-old Tracy Talton has spent 10 years in prison for shooting and killing Stephen Beard. She's serving the remaining 12 years of her sentence on parole.
I think that some people believe that this could never happen to them. But I can absolutely tell you that I would have told you I would never kill somebody at one point, you know, and I did.
Tracy and Celeste met in March 1999 at St. David's, a top Austin psychiatric hospital. Both women were receiving treatment for depression.
You know, at the time that I met Celeste, I was at a very low ebb. I was ripe for the picking, you know.
Tracy had taken responsibility for Stephen Beard's murder, but a newspaper article about her ex-lover Celeste getting married made her think again.
It was a short period of time since we had ended it, and it became starkly clear just in an instant. She had lied to me, I had been manipulated, I had believed her, and I had shot this guy. Now, I knew, for no reason but for his money.
With this realization, Tracy approached state prosecutors and offered to testify against Celeste in return for a shorter sentence.
The eyes of Austin, Texas are on one place: the courthouse where Celeste Beard is about to go on trial for the murder of her husband, Steve.
This was a tremendous story in the media. You have this millionaire. He was murdered by his wife's lesbian lover. You have the issues of money, you have the issues of sex, you have some madness involved in this case. You have all that swirled in with family conflict. It's almost like something William Shakespeare would have written about.
The most powerful impression is made by Celeste herself, who enters the courtroom to gasps of surprise.
They open the door and she comes in, hobbles in on these crutches.
I fainted in the county hospital and my foot stuck to the concrete, and so when I spun around, I got a spiral fracture in my tibia.
Right before the trial started, I believe a doctor wanted to take the cast off, and she said, wait, don't. Let me talk to my attorney first. It was like she thought that cast would get sympathy.
Having inherited millions from her husband, Celeste was able to fund a first-class defense team.
Celeste's lawyer, Dick DeGuerin, is famous for his high-profile clients like Robert Durst and the Branch Davidians.
Well, I got a call, and she was in jail and she needed help.
He's the #1 lawyer in Texas. I paid over $2 million in legal fees.
We believe sincerely in Celeste's innocence?
I found her very pleasant. She is intelligent. She was adamant about how she had not had anything to do with Stephen's death.
The prosecution's star witness was Tracy Talton.
Show us how you shot him.
I walked down to the end of the bed and I saw him and I pulled up and I shot him.
What did you say about her suggestion that she shoot Steve Beard?
I said, I don't want to do this. She said, and there's nothing left. You know, I might as well just take it right now and shoot myself. And I said, fine, let's go. I'll do it.
But just as powerful was testimony from Celeste's own daughters, who told the court how she treated her husband.
I mean, she called him a fat fuck. That's what was the main thing she called him a pig. And she talked about how she hoped that Stephen Beard would just die. Why didn't he just die? So she could go on living the kind of life that she wanted to live without him.
He let you into his home, loved you, honored, obeyed you, and you've murdered him. You are guilty.
The fact that those girls testified against their own mother is huge because they realized finally what she actually was. She was a cold, calculated person who pushed people to their limits.
Christina, what are you saying by deliberately...
But it was a series of phone calls recorded by her daughters that lifted a veil on Celeste's manipulative ways.
To hear her threaten them constantly, repeatedly, through tape after tape after tape. And then to have a tape where Celeste says, calmly, I hired someone to kill Tracy.
You know me, but you don't. When you came home, I was going to say, I hired somebody to kill her.
The call was manipulated, it was altered. They didn't even play the rest of the phone calls or the whole thing.
That is your voice talking on the phone, is
Well,
that
yes, it is.
You heard her. It was edited. It doesn't matter what the facts are to Celeste.
Do you think she'll ever admit what she's done?
No. She does not strike me as the kind of person that would ever take responsibility for her actions. I think that she was just, by nature, a cruel, manipulative person.
Celeste Beard-Johnson's trial had lasted for 4 weeks. On the 19th of March 2003, the verdict was finally delivered.
I think this case is a clear example that no matter how much money you have, no matter how great an attorney you may be able to hire, money can't buy your way out of everything.
State versus Celeste Beard-Johnson. Verdict of the jury. Verdict form 1, capital murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Celeste Beard-Johnson, guilty of the offense of capital murder.
You look at all the people who she harmed in this, destroyed Tracy Talton's life. In some sense, destroyed the lives of her kids. Stephen Beard had children also, and grandkids. We never should have had to put up with her and her manipulation and machinations. She's now where she belongs, away from us.
What's your biggest fear?
Of being alone in here. And that my children will never forgive me for not being the mother that they needed me to be. But I'm not a murderer, and I know that they know deep down inside that I did not participate. And I hope someday that they will forgive me.
Celeste will be eligible for parole in 2043, when she'll be 80 years old. If she doesn't admit her guilt, she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars.